let me break this to you. 70% of Americans don't want that mosque down there. So don't give me the we business.
Why is that? Bill, why aren't we saying...
It's inappropriate.
Why is it inappropriate when 70 families died?
Muslims killed us on 9/11.
Oh, my God. That is...
Muslims didn't kill us on 9/11? Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me, extremists.
What religion were they in?
What religion was Mr. McVeigh? Mr. McVeigh was an extremist as well, and he killed people.
70% of the country.
I don't want to sit here. I don't want to sit here. I don't.
You're outraged about Muslims killed us on 9/11.
Hey, Alexis, it looks like there's a couple of openings on The View for some smart conservative women. Do you think they'd hire us? What do you say about applying?
I guess we're 10 seconds away from finding out.
Broadcasting from PJTV's worldwide headquarters in Los Angeles, California, it's the PJTV Report with Alexis Garcia and Danica Quinn.
We only have a minute left.
More time coming back. He's afraid to
Here comes one of them back.
We're back because now you apologize. You apologize.
Look, but that's not the issue.
Hi there, I'm Danica.
And I'm Alexis. Welcome to the PJTV Report. What do you think about what happened on The View?
Well, what I think about what happened is that I think it was very inappropriate how Joy and Whoopi walked off the set. Instead of being able to have a very mature, educated conversation and discussion about the topic, they just storm off like two children. So thank you to Barbara Walters, who kind of pulled the reins on that one.
You know, earlier today I had a chance to talk to Tony Katz, host of PJTV's Comically Speaking, about The View walkout. So Tony, can you help me understand what were Joy and Whoopi thinking when they walked off set?
First of all, very funny, Joy, Whoopi, thinking. I love that. They were thinking that we have to get up and leave now because even though we completely and intellectually understand that Bill O'Reilly meant extremists and not all Muslims, we have to feign our moral indignation. We have to leave the room to show our base that we're not going to take that right-wing crap. It was a show for the sake of putting on a show. Whoopi and Joy playing to a base. It was kind of gross.
What does it say that Barbara Walters is the voice of reason in this situation?
It goes beyond that, because Barbara Walters is a professional, and her job is to be a professional. There are moments where people walk off of a set. I have done it myself, so I don't want to come across as someone who is so moral. The real reality is why they did it, and they didn't do it because they had such a disagreement in philosophy. They did it because they saw a moment to show moral indignation. They saw a moment to placate their base, and they took the moment. They're performers. Heck of a job.
Now, you have a new show here on PJTV.
I do.
Tell us a little bit about Comically Speaking.
Comically Speaking, it's an odd title because the show is about knitting and macrame and how to really knit one purl too. Comically Speaking, I'm not a stand-up comic, but I love stand-ups. I talk often about the fact that I'm a capitalist, and I think that stand-up comedy is the last true art form because it gives an immediate reality to whether or not you're funny. It tells you right there and then, that audience reaction, what you are. Did you succeed or did you fail? And to me, it's a very capitalist mindset, and therefore I respect these people and I love these people, and I want to see some funny. I want to laugh. So I want to bring funny people in, not to dig deep into the subjects, although it might happen. I want to laugh about the subjects. Right, left, don't tell me about conservative or liberal. Tell me about funny, make it funny.
So who can we expect to see on your show?
Well, we've had some great guests so far. Alfonso Rachel here at PJTV, Steven Cruiser, the great Tom Dreesen has been here. We have a lot of good guests lined up, a lot of people we're reaching out to, and oddly enough, people reaching out to us, because when you have an opportunity for comics to actually be funny and not try to be pigeonholed or typecast into anything, ask a comic. They want that opportunity to play with other comics and really enjoy the subject matter. Comically Speaking with Tony Katz does just that, only on PJTV.
Well, viewers can see you every week on
Yes,
Comically Speaking, and thank you so much for joining us, Tony.
A pleasure.
On Instavision Tuesday, Glenn Reynolds interviewed Mary Catherine Ham. Glenn asked her about how PJTV viewers can develop a voice on YouTube.
Well, what advice do you have for sort of DIY types out there who are trying to make a mark and make a splash? What sort of things do you think they might want to try, or should they just keep trying stuff till they find something they like?
Well, I would say especially right now, since we're 3 weeks out from an election, one of the best things you can do is go out to these candidate forums, catch candidates at their events, and ask them whatever's bothering you. They tend not to take too well to that, as we saw with Bob Etheridge in North Carolina, kind of jacking up a young man who asked him some questions, or as you see with folks who get asked about the health care bill and start ranting and getting very angry with you. Generally, these are Democrats or establishment Republican types, but I think that kind of news breaking is, of course, the first way that you're going to find a foothold. And people out in the states, in these districts where not everybody in the national media has a budget to put somebody, they're at a great advantage because you can be on the ground and asking those questions. And you also, since you might be right of center and not like a lot of the rest of the media, you might have new, different questions that they haven't asked yet that these candidates are going to find challenging.
From her humble beginnings on YouTube, Ham has gone on to become a political commentator on Fox News, contributor to the Daily Caller and the Weekly Standard. You go, girl.
Gerrymandering is a powerful way for incumbents, both Democrats and Republicans alike, to control their own election prospects and keep out upstart competitors. It's also the topic of a new documentary. I had a chance to sit down this week to talk to the producer and director about the process. Take a look.
I think it's America's best kept secret, and I think the legislators have been extraordinarily manipulative about doing it during times when the press and the general public is not paying attention. For example, the 2001 gerrymander in California was passed the day after 9/11. No one was paying attention.
Common thread throughout the film is this idea that if the districts were drawn more fairly, that these politicians would be held more accountable. Do you think you kind of see the rise of the Tea Party movement and a lot more focus paying attention on keeping government accountable? Do you think that type of movement would help to draw attention to an issue like that?
I think the general public there's a lot of angst and a lot of anger out there, and I don't think, and it ends up getting personified to particular politicians. But I think in general, the anger should be focused on the system, because the system allows politicians in a perfectly legal way to fix elections for decades at a time. It's the system that needs to be changed.
Alexis, what did you learn about how incumbents take advantage of their power to gerrymander election districts?
Well, after seeing the movie, every state definitely has their own horror story about this process. And, it's not just a partisan issue. It is an incumbency issue. These people get in their seats. They want to hold on to their power. It's a perfectly legal way for them to manipulate the system. But the good news is that states like California have put initiatives on the ballot to kind of wrest back some of that power. So something to look forward to with the upcoming elections.
Absolutely. Finally today, with the November election mere weeks away, we now turn to PJTV's Brian Preston, who's been following the battle for America in Pajamas Media. Hello, Brian. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, Danica. Thanks for having me here.
You wrote recently that President Obama was beginning to sound delusional when he said that the Republicans will have to accommodate his policies after the election. What did you mean by that exactly?
Well, Danica, let me give you two numbers. One of those is that, according to Rasmussen, 45% of Americans surveyed, this survey came out today, strongly disapprove of the job that President Obama is doing. I'll give you another number. More than 50% of Democrats in Congress right now are in jeopardy of losing their seats to Republicans. The voters are very angry. They're very angry at President Obama and his party. The voters are not sending Republicans to Washington to work with Obama or to accommodate his plans. The voters are sending Republicans to Washington to upset his plans and repeal his plans, particularly Obamacare. So he is just delusional in saying that.
Now, Brian, in Delaware, there was a memorable debate Wednesday night between Tea Party favorite Christine O'Donnell and Democratic candidate Chris Coons. How did you think she did, and will it help her come from behind in the Delaware election?
Well, to the first question, I think she did better than expected. The bar had been set so low for her, and she actually did pretty well, and she came off pretty credible. She did have one little slip up on a question about Supreme Court cases that she disagreed with, but Chris Coons, her Democratic opponent, lied bald-faced about his Marxist statement and got away with it. She faced two hostile moderators, a hostile opponent, and a pretty hostile crowd, and she came off pretty well. Now, do I think it's going to help her catch up? Honestly, I don't. She didn't score a knockout blow against Coons. Coons didn't fumble the ball. He's got it on the goal line, and he's probably going to push it on over.
Thank you, Brian. In a related story, the Justice Department is taking steps to assure that hundreds of thousands of military absentee ballots will actually be counted this November after several states failed to send them overseas by the legal time limit. The department has reached agreements to extend voting deadlines with some states and is suing some others.
If you want to hear more election coverage or catch up with any of the PJTV programming we've mentioned today, just click the links below.
And viewers, we want your feedback. What did you think of Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar's grandstanding antics, and has YouTube made you more or less politically aware? Click the comment button on this page below. I'm Danica Quinn.
And I'm Alexis Garcia. This was the PJTV Report. Thanks for watching.